Ethan, welcome to Ahrefs podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I think you're now the expert when it comes to answer engine optimization. You've been everywhere, like all the Lenny podcasts, tons of webinars with a lot of companies. On LinkedIn, you're widely regarded as the guy. And I support that claim because, we've met back in San Diego when we were doing Ahrefs Evolve. We get to talk and I learned how much effort you're putting into this and how much data you research. So you're not just sharing opinions, you're sharing data. And I believe today with this episode, we're in for a session of SEO necromancy, as I would call it, because we'll be resurrecting SEO from the dead. You have some interesting data research to refute, to debunk some of the SEO myths. And I'm very excited to dig into this.
Thank you for the kind words. Excited to be with you.
So why don't you lead the way? I believe you want to present a bunch of SEO myths that you want to debunk. I've seen your notes. I have some of my own comments there, but what do you want to start with?
Yeah, so I think the last 20 webinars I've been on have only talked about answer engine optimization. I haven't talked about SEO in, I don't even know, a year maybe, because everyone's interested in answer engine optimization. But SEO is huge. And I would say that there's this increasingly consistent narrative that SEO is going down. So you basically have these two curves and they're surpassing each other. And the key assumption is that if something goes up, something else must go down. It's the zero sum bias. And we saw this you probably remember this in 2010. In 2010, the App Store launches and people said, web is going away. Mobile apps are going to take over. Teenagers have stopped using the web. Only old people use the web. So you better get on board. Don't worry about web anymore. Websites don't matter. Just use mobile apps. And that was a zero-sum mindset. Now, it is true that mobile apps blew up. Like the promise was real. It eventually happened. But what did not happen is that web did not go down. And that's exactly what we're seeing now, where AI is actually blowing up. And the promise is, I don't think it's overhyped. But the premise is that the web must go down if AI is going up. And so that's the main thing that I want to debunk. And I always knew from looking at our clients' websites, like they keep going up and people are telling me it's going down, but I keep, or not like every single project that we work on, but like consistently I'm seeing charts go up. So clearly this can't be true. And so I've been digging into that. And there's a couple, where does this narrative come from? And it comes from two different things. The first thing is that media, it is more interesting to say things are being disrupted than to say things are not being disrupted. So
and
there's
fear mongering, it always works.
Fear mongering works. Yep. If you have a new product, say that the old product doesn't work anymore so that you have to buy the new product. The more disruptive, the better. And then the second thing is that as I've been digging into it, I've seen several pitch decks from new software companies that say, "Well, you don't need Ahrefs anymore. You need this new thing." And a key thing are these converging charts and studies that say that SEO traffic is going down. And interestingly, I looked into it. There's multiple market research firms, and all of them, this is premised on self-reported surveys. So it's me sending you a survey and saying, "Hey, Tim, are you using AI?" And you say, "Yeah." Or like, "How often are you using AI? How many times did you search last week?" And you're like, "Oh, about 7 times." And then, okay, well, SEO traffic is going down by 25%. Like that's the actual premise of these studies is you quantifying your previous behavior. And anyone in psychology research, my background's in human-computer interaction, anyone who has a background in that knows that asking you to quantify your prior behavior is a terrible research method. It's kind of like if I said, "What's the search volume for chicken recipes?" "Oh, well, I'll ask Tim what he did last week." Like, of course you wouldn't do that. You would just use panel data or like search volume from Google. So if you have actual quantitative data, like clearly that's better than a self-reported survey. So I started looking into this, and there's the key myths are, number one, that SEO traffic is down 25%. Number two is that AI going up causes SEO to go down. The third is that AI overviews is reducing click-through rate, which is true. And then the fourth is that Google's stealing more and more clicks. And all of those are wrong.
Let's start with the first one. SEO traffic is going down. So it is down for Ahrefs.com. I'm afraid. So
Okay.
it is down for Hrefs blog, I'm afraid. So we suffered from it, and we're not alone. I like earlier this year we caused a little bit of drama with HubSpot. Famously, when Ryan Law, our head of content, posted that, oh, look at HubSpot blog, which has always been regarded as kind of the kind of North Star of all content marketing, and it was losing traffic dramatically. We're not seeing that dramatic traffic losses for Hrefs blog and for Hrefs website as a whole, but it is going down. And I see a lot of other people reporting this. But at the same time, I do also see people who are bragging about their SEO traffic going up. So it's not like doom and gloom across the board. So I wonder what data have you studied in this regard?
Yeah, and so the biggest stories are about Monday.com and HubSpot, and going down, and that's true. They did go down. And I saw a comment of yours in another post where one of our friends said, "Well, I looked at like 15 sites, and like,
Yeah.
guys, 15 sites, like that's you can't look at 15 sites and generalize based on 15 sites. I mean, it's not wrong, but you need a large sample. And so all of the other studies that I looked at are like, my one site went down. True.
Yeah.
So what I did was I looked, I worked with, I looked at your data, number one. And then number two, I worked with SimilarWeb. And so SimilarWeb has a bunch of panel data of total traffic. And we looked at the top 40,000 sites. So not 10 sites, but 40,000 sites. It's the 40,000 largest sites in the United States. I looked at it over 2024 and 2025. So it's basically SimilarWeb's organic traffic to all of those. And I also independently validated that it was directionally correct because I correlated it with some of our internal data. And then I also correlated it with some of Google's data. So I evaluated the SimilarWeb's data was directionally accurate. So I looked at 40,000 sites. And of course, some sites went up, some sites went down. And so what I saw was that total traffic is down, but it's down 2.5% overall, and not 25%. And I could just show you a quick example here where I have that. So this is summed across all 40,000 sites.
So again, to be clear, because there's a lot of ways we can look in the data. What we can do is that we can measure the growth or drop of traffic per website, and then we can aggregate it to an average, or we can sum up the traffic of all websites and also track like the total traffic to all websites. Like, which one did you do? Did you do an average per website and then aggregate, or did you do the sum of all traffic?
I looked at a few slices. I did not look at the median, like the average percent change within site is what I think you're saying. I didn't do that, but I did something kind of like that. So Reddit is huge. So is Reddit skewing this whole thing? Yeah. And I did look at that. So what happened was the top 10 sites actually went up, and the smaller sites went up. The middle sites went down. So the middle sites, and by this, I mean, I'll just give you like a little sneak here, but like if you look at all of these sites, I basically looked at all of these, and then I sliced it by size of site. And so the middle of the pack went down about 6 to 7%. Reddit and the big sites went up, but also the smaller sites went up. So smaller sites went up the most, actually. So there's basically, this change in clicks where it's going a bit more to the big ones and a lot more to the small ones, moving actually the middle of the pack, I would say, to the smaller ones. So, our clients, for example, are probably going to be in this middle pack. So the kinds of companies that we work with would be in that middle. But yeah, that's kind of how I looked at it. But I think that the point is that Google isn't sending less traffic. Like maybe there's a shift in companies that you and I would be working with that see a bit, but even that, it's 6%, 7%. So it's not like a massive decrease.
I have two more comments about this. First of all, we have this nice website, ChatGPT versus Google.com. And what we're seeing there is that we're tracking there the traffic share. So we're not tracking like growth or decline. We're tracking traffic share. So out of 100% that websites are getting traffic, what is the traffic share of Google, and is it growing or declining? And yeah, it's been relatively stable. So it has moved single-digit percentages. So it's not that it dropped by 15%, 20%. No, it was like 6 or 7% since the time all the kind of LLM and AI chatbot craze has started. So this is the first one. It kind of your data checks out with our data, and I think right now we track it over like 70,000 websites which are connected to Ahrefs, and every month more websites connect, so we have a bigger panel to track. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that in terms of Ahrefs.com losing its own search traffic, what I've noticed is that it's mostly for the kind of terms and queries, well, informational ones, that have become almost like common knowledge. So it's hard to get traffic for things like what is SEO, when this is something LLMs can mention, can give you answer for easily, because there's so much content about this. But I think to your point that new websites, you saw that new websites got more SEO traffic. I think one of the reasons for that is that new websites might be going after net new topics, where there's like lack of information for LLMs to just aggregate you an answer, so they have to reference this website. And yeah, we have, even in our field, we have a lot of new emerging topics like AEO, GEO, AEO visibility, AI tracking, and all those things are on the rise. And whoever is kind of pioneering their content on all these topics, they would be getting more search traffic.
Yeah, and there's several things in what you're saying. So the first thing is that the Ahrefs team did a study on when AI overviews is appearing, and it's appearing way more on informational queries, on queries that you didn't make money on. So perhaps you got some clicks going away, but you didn't make money on those. The conversions are not going away. The transactional queries are not seeing AI overviews everywhere. That's being disrupted a lot less. The second thing is the ChatGPT versus Google share that you have. That is a 100% stacked graph, or it's like share of 100%. Yeah. But what's actually happening is that the pie is getting bigger.
Yeah.
The third thing is that that's referral traffic, and most AI answers are 0-click. So that's actually not fully capturing all of the AI piece. So the AI piece is probably even bigger. But again, the pie is getting larger. It's not zero sum. The pie is getting larger. So that's generally what I saw. And one other thing, so this is another interesting thing. So is Google going down? And basically it's not. So what's happening is there is a reduction in click-through rate essentially from AI overviews. And your team sent over this updated thing. So 30% of the time AI overviews is appearing. And it does, your team also did this one here where you showed it was a 34%. When AI overviews appears, it reduces click-through rate. So yes, that's true. And yes, it's true that it's showing up, and it's showing up for informational queries, and the click-through rate's going down, but it's not a result of fewer people using Google. It's just, yes, Google is taking some more clicks with AI overviews for informational queries, essentially, which is, not that big a deal in my opinion.
Yeah. We're seeing the same. Like you said, some of this data is coming from us, actually. So I also saw the study a while ago by Rand Fishkin and Datas, another kind of company that has panel data, clickstream and all that. And he also saw the same thing, that a lot of people, like the adoption of AI chatbots like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, the adoption is growing, but not at the expense of Google. So it's not like that. More people using ChatGPT doesn't mean less people are using Google. And it kind of checks out with my own habits. Yes, I use ChatGPT a lot, but I also still using Google almost just as much as I used to. Do I click less? Probably in a lot of informational cases, yes. But if I need to go deep, I would always go to the source. So I would always click.
And just like with mobile apps, do you use mobile apps? You use them all the time. But that doesn't mean you don't use your laptop and the web. Like, of course you do. You use both, and you use both. The sum is way more than you probably used it in 2005, and that means the pie is getting bigger. And then once again, the pie is getting bigger with AI.
Yeah, I also like your argument in the notes that you sent that the use cases are different. So the way that you're using ChatGPT is not the way you're using Google. And yeah, a lot of the times I use ChatGPT to do things. I ask it to, refine my copy, to, generate something for me. But in Google, I typically want to navigate to some website. I want to find, a website of a restaurant. I want to find a website that does a certain service. Or if I'm studying some topic, I want to learn something about investing. Yeah, I can ask a bunch of general questions to ChatGPT. But if I'm researching, a given stock, a given company, I want to go to the source and see who's actually talking about it, what people are talking about this company, yada, yada, yada. So there is still a lot of traffic to be had.
OpenAI did a study with Harvard where they looked through all their prompts and categorized them. I don't know if you've seen this, but they categorized about a third of the prompts are new behaviors, specifically writing, generation, and self-expression. So help, rewrite this, help me write something, write an article, or generate an image, or let me pretend like you're my AI friend and tell you how I'm feeling. These are not Google use cases. These are new use cases, and about a third of, at least a third, are this group. So it's as you mentioned, it's opening up new behaviors that are not taking from search.
Okay, let's recap what we have so far. So the first myth was that SEO traffic has declined dramatically, 20 to 60%, across the board. It's not across the board. Lots of websites are still having gains, but a lot of websites like ourselves suffered. But in my case, me and my team, we're not losing faith in SEO. We're still creating a lot of content, especially we are prioritizing those new emerging topics rather than trying to go back to conventional things like how to do keyword research, what is SEO tips. No, we're not targeting that much those things anymore. We're looking for new emerging trends where there's not so much content and where you can still establish your thought leadership and be the source. The second myth that we discussed is everyone is switching to ChatGPT, and this is why Google's share is going down. Again, we're not seeing this in data. We're not seeing it in usage patterns. As you're saying, the pie is getting bigger. So the fact that people are using ChatGPT a lot doesn't mean that you will get a lot of traffic, because ChatGPT isn't really interested to send you traffic. And by the way, back to our ChatGPT versus Google website, I was supposed to post this on LinkedIn, but I was lacking time. I actually saw that in December, the referral traffic from ChatGPT, the traffic share went down. Because again, ChatGPT changed something and they decided, okay, we want to send less traffic to websites. So they have those citations, but at any point in time, they can make those citations more prominent or less prominent. They can feature them more, they can feature them less. So they're totally in control. All of these hundreds of millions of people that are using ChatGPT, they, like the OpenAI, can turn the knob and websites would be getting more traffic, and they would turn the knob back and websites would be getting less traffic. So I believe this is a work in progress, and they're still experimenting with the kind of outputs that ChatGPT is giving you. So let's monitor what kind of traffic you can get. But everyone is saying that answer engine optimization, it's about mentions. It's about your visibility in the answers, not so much about getting traffic to a website.
I agree. Although if I were designing OpenAI, I would make answers way more clickable. So I would expect that they'll make it way more clickable. You're seeing that with commerce. You're seeing that with local, where it, like when Google started, it was 10 blue links, and then they had maps, shopping carousel, all these rich modules. And you're starting to see that with all the LLMs, where you have, for local, you have maps; for shopping, you have the shopping carousels. If I were asking, I want the best SEO tool, I would like to be able to click on something. It's better than opening a new tab. So my guess is it'll become more clickable, and you'll be able to track that stuff a lot better. Go ahead.
Another interesting observation that I was recently playing with our own tool, Brand Radar, the tool for AI visibility. And what you can do with this tool is you can see all your website's most cited pages by ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever. So we have this huge index of prompts. I believe it's like 10 million prompts that we ask to ChatGPT. And based on those 10 million prompts, we can showcase which pages of your website are appearing in citations. And what I've noticed is that one of the most cited pages, it's like top 5 cited page from Ahrefs.com, was about our pricing. and the date published of that page was 2022. And I was immediately ringing the alarm to my team. I'm like, guys, look, ChatGPT is citing our page about our pricing. So it's not a pricing page. It's a blog post that discusses some changes in Ahrefs pricing, and it's from 2022, which means that ChatGPT is most likely giving people answers that are inaccurate, that are outdated. And we need to go and update this page fast and make sure that all the information is recent, is correct. So to your point about making answers more clickable, it's almost as you want to display, we took this information from this page, and this page is this old. So please beware that like this information that we have found, it might be out of date. So we'll see what happens on this front.
A whole new field of online reputation management, and online reputation management specifically for AI. And I think that this is also another interesting subject, which is the other myth that I didn't include in this particular study, but it's that SEO and AEO are completely different, and they're different, but there's a heavy overlap. And I would say that there's probably 2/3 to 80% overlap. Everything in SEO works for free in AEO. What's different is that you need to worry about certain things like your pricing page or your help center or your features page or your integrations page, which you would not need to worry about for search. But the mechanisms to modify those are the same as search. Like we're ranking in the citations for AI for our pricing. So that's still SEO. It's just that I'm worrying about pages and queries and prompts that I wasn't worrying about before. But the majority of SEO applies for AEO. The main difference is offsite mentions, but even that is essentially an evolution of link building. Like it's not that different. It's just that it's a mention rather than a link, and it's a mention on a specific URL rather than a link on the New York Times homepage. But I think that that's the other myth, which is that they're completely different. And again, this comes from I need to disrupt things. Like if I haven't done SEO before and I'm doing AEO and I'm like, oh, this is a big thing. I need to persuade you. Like if I'm pitching you, I've never done SEO before, you're going to say, well, where are your case studies? And they're like, well, I don't have case studies, but neither does anybody else. And they'll say, well, this, isn't it similar to search? I'm like, no, it's totally different. There's nothing in common at all. We're all on the same level playing field. You should hire me, even though I have no experience. Same with software companies like Ahrefs. Don't worry about Ahrefs. Like keyword tracking, it doesn't matter. You need answer tracking. This is totally different. And Ahrefs could never build something as sophisticated as answer tracking. So this is another. What was that? You already did.
We already did. Yeah.
Of course. But this is the other class of the myth, which is that they're completely different, and they're not different. They're heavily overlapping. The vast majority of the strategies for SEO work in AEO. It's just that you need to apply them in slightly different things. Instead of link building, it's mention building. Instead of optimizing how to do X or best tool for X, optimize your product content and your pricing page and your about page and things like that. But they're not different. They're almost entirely the same, which means that you can have one strategy for both of them.
Yeah. This is exactly something I tweeted the other day and got a lot of support. I made an argument that if you admit that AEO and SEO are 80% the same, how do you sell your new disruptive next generation AEO tool when you have Ahrefs, which covers that 80%, and then we're building out those 20% as well? So yeah, a lot of people are both tool providers and consultants as well are incentivized to position it as something completely different, because this way they kind of can differentiate themselves from big, established, trusted agencies and consultants and tool providers that focused on SEO. But the thing is, those big, established providers, tool providers, agencies are the best suited to do AEO as well, because like you're saying, they're 80% the same. It's just AEO has more emphasis on kind of earned media, or like on what others are saying about you, where SEO was mostly focused on your website. But then again, SEO, search engine optimization, your goal is to show up in search. So what a lot of smart people were doing, they were claiming not just a search result that you own with your website, they were going to other top 10 ranking results. As long as they're not your direct competitors, you can go there and say, would you like to be my affiliate? Would you like to mention my product, my service on your page and get a kickback every time I get clients from you? And this is still SEO. You're owning not just a position with your website, you're owning a mention in all of the top 10 ranking pages. And this is the same that you need to do for AEO right now. You need to be present everywhere so that wherever LLM would go and look for answers to a person's question, they would find mention of your product on a lot of websites, not just your own website. So this is the only 20% difference. And then again, we could argue that that 20% difference existed as an SEO strategy if you think outside the box of your own website.
Yeah, and the best way to do this is to ask ChatGPT, ask Perplexity, what's the best credit card, and search it on Google. And the whole page will be pages that say, we may have taken an affiliate, possibly a commission, if you click on this thing. That means that it's an affiliate. And for both Google and for all the LLMs, you'll see the exact same thing. I will say, I do think that there will be one class of stuff that will be entirely different, possibly, and that would be autonomous agents. And so I think that the LLMs are going to try to, just like Apple wants you to stay within the phone and not go somewhere else, I think that they're going to try and push the conversions within the native experience. And I think that at some point, the LLMs will optimize for something like plan my vacation and do it for me, and I don't want to deal with it. It's kind of like the super EA. So like book my hotel, book my restaurant, book my flights, and do it without me doing anything. And I don't need to go somewhere to do it. And then the agents will then go convert on those destination sites. We see ChatGPT launched Atlas, their own browser, and I believe they were marking up they said, mark up your buttons and your forms essentially so that I can perform these actions. So I can foresee a scenario. Well, I mean, they want to do that. So if that works, that would be a net new different thing. And then you would have ads as part of that. So that I think would be completely different, but basically everything else is just SEO v 1.5.
Yeah. Also, with all the answer tracking, with all the AI visibility, there's a lot of questions there on the methodology, because the first thing we did at Ahrefs when we released the functionality to add your own custom prompts. So like I said, Brand Radar is based on an index of 10 million prompts that we already asked, and you can tap into this data and see if your brand is mentioned among those prompts and those responses. But when it comes to custom prompts, when you want to set up a list of 10, 20, 50, 100, 200 prompts where you want to see if you're showing up or not, it comes with a ton of bias. So your selection of the prompts is influencing your AI visibility more than anything else, because you can ask prompts where the propensity of your brand or your product or your service to show up is just higher. So the higher up kind of the funnel you go from the awareness stage to consideration stage to blah blah blah, the less your product will probably show up. And the thing is, most of those AI visibility trackers, I see their packages are starting from like 25 prompts, 50 prompts. What kind of AI visibility? How can you rely on 25 manually selected custom prompts to gauge your AI visibility? And yeah, so I asked my team, I asked Patrick, I asked Glenn Alsop, let's publish a few articles on our blog on different methodologies of selecting your custom prompts, because a lot of people wouldn't put a lot of thought in it. They would, I don't know, go into ChatGPT and say, give me 20 questions that people might be asking when, I don't know, choosing a CRM to go for. It would generate 20 questions, they would put it, and they would track their AI visibility based on that. But there's a lot of ways you can go: top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. One methodology that we're going to explore and that we're going to integrate in our product is we're going to take all the content of your website, everything you published on your blog, and turn that content into questions. Because if you publish this content on your website, you care about this topic, this is something your product helps with, and you want to know if people asking questions about this topic, if you're getting mentioned. So converting your existing content, the content of your website, into questions and generating like a few thousand of them, if you have enough content on your website, can then give you a good visibility into like where you stand. But yeah, I wonder what you think of the custom prompt tracking, and if you've seen like what kind of strategies, what kind of methodologies people are using to set them up.
I've looked into this quite a bit. I actually have an 80% done article on my own. So lots to share on this. So an analogy would be, what if I had no idea any search volume data? So I'm going to use Ahrefs and I'm going to start tracking keywords, and I have nowhere to start. And I just start tracking keywords. I'm like, well, I'm position 4. Maybe that, like, I don't know how many people are looking for it, but it seems like it's good. So like, what would that be like? And we explored doing keyword research with the LLMs. Like, hey, what keywords would I potentially want? Like an example is for Rippling. What things might the director of finance search for to decide their payroll management software? And it gives all these different themes. Like, well, you need to go through these 10 different steps, and here's some keywords. Almost all of them are zero search volume. It's like they look great, and there's no search volume for almost any of them. And that's for search. So like we know that for search, which is actually easier, that the LLMs are very bad at making these suggestions. Even like your own intuition, it's very bad. If you look at the search volume in Ahrefs for most of the keywords you come up with, there's no search volume.
Yeah.
So we know that it's bad. So then if you're asking for questions, it's going to be even worse. And actually, one other thing that is different with LLMs is that the tail is much, much bigger, because the average number of words for a search, I think it's like 3 to 7, depending on your data source. Whereas for prompts, it's 60 words. So the majority of prompts have probably search volume of less than 10, or like prompt volume of less than 10. So this is this massive tail. So then you're guessing about what the prompts might be. So now you have a measurement error. Then you're guessing about the volume of the prompts, even more measurement error. Then, so we looked at prompt. We looked at what we do is we just take search keywords and essentially we just transform them into prompts. So I think that that's actually a pretty good method.
This is what we do.
So I do think that, So I think that that's great, because I think it's okay if it's not exactly the prompt, the correct prompt verbatim. If it's conceptually the prompt, you're probably going to get roughly the same data. And we assume that there's roughly similar search behavior with prompt data. That's not entirely true. You're going to miss the generative stuff. You're going to miss some of the tail, but it should generally be accurate. Now, eventually we'll have panel data. So like for keyword tracking, we just ask Google, right? And so Google says, here's the source of truth. Maybe at some point the LMs will give us their own data, maybe. Yeah. But in the meantime, we have panel data. Now, and this is what prompt volumes is generally based on. So what is panel data? Panel data means I take a subset of actual first-party data, and then I multiply it by something. Like if I have 1% of everyone on the internet and it's unbiased and it's representative, you multiply it by 100, that's prompt volume. And that's legitimate. Like when you do presidential polls, you usually survey 1,000 to 2,000 people. They're not exactly perfect, but they're actually pretty accurate. So that's essentially what panel data is. The thing is, the panel data is extremely noisy. Like I've spoken to multiple AEO companies, and they just don't have good panel data. If you had good panel data, that's actually a legitimate approach. If it's large enough and it's unbiased and representative, it just doesn't exist. It's too noisy. And so I think panel data today is not ready. It might be ready at some point, but today it's not ready. So I think search volume is a good method. The other is, where are people actually asking questions? So they're actually asking questions in your sales conversation on Reddit, maybe on Quora, maybe on Stack Overflow if you're a developer. Go find places where there are real questions. That's your panel data right there. Especially sales calls if you're a sales-led company. Find those questions. Those are probably the questions that I would target. So I would focus on that. I don't think that panel data today is ready. I think it could be ready, but based on my research, it's not ready. The last point that I want to make is on grouping. And grouping is very important because it's just like keyword grouping. As a marketer, I want to do an initiative. So I need to know the group of keywords that I'm going to do the initiative for, that I'm going to target. I don't want, and depending on the group, it could be wildly different. It could be like 1,000 times bigger, depending on that. Like, let's say I want to target chicken. Well, I'm not targeting every single keyword that has ever contained the word chicken. I'm probably targeting how to cook chicken, how to do blah, and then there's a bunch of other topics, and you have different strategies. So for prompt volume, again, the tail is so large. The grouping algorithm is very important. And most grouping algorithms are based on just, did I see prompts that happen to contain these words? Like, you mentioned one where, or like generative prompts. Is it a search prompt, or is it saying write an article about this thing? Well, that's not like I'm not targeting that as a marketer. So is it matching my intent? Is the primary subject the prompt? So many prompts will contain words where the primary subject is not the prompt that you're looking for. Like project management software, not every prompt that contains the word project management and software is about looking for that particular product. So you need to know, is it the search and discovery prompt? Is the primary subject the prompt? And then is it grouped properly? And we've been playing around with a grouping algorithm based on embeddings. It's actually pretty good. But anyway, those are my thoughts on prompt volume.
Thanks a lot for sharing all of that, because this is exactly what we're seeing as well. Anyone who is claiming that they have accurate volume data for prompts, they're just essentially lying to you. Because we talked to a lot of providers as well. We talked to a lot of providers. A lot of companies are, of course, reaching out to Ahrefs, trying to sell their panel data to us. And like you're saying, it's extremely noisy for the reasons which we just discussed, because use cases of ChatGPT and use cases of the conventional search engines like Google are very different. And this is why on ChatGPT, you have long prompts and you have conversations, contextual conversations, and it has history about you, blah, blah, blah. It's very, very hard to derive insights from it. And we're using search volume, but full transparency, I'm not happy with how we're using search volumes to extrapolate into the prompts that we use in Brand Radar, but the team is on it. We're working. We're going to change the system, because right now I think we are kind of extrapolating the search volume of a parent topic onto the questions kind of too bluntly. It is like too straightforward. We need to have a more sophisticated model of how we do it, and the team is working on it. I think in the next couple months we're going to release it. What else I wanted to say about this? Grouping is a cool thing. This is something we're also looking into. Instead of kind of trying to evaluate the individual volumes or popularity of different questions, we would be looking for patterns, like what kind of topics, what kind of topics these groups of prompts belong to, and we would kind of try to gauge them by topic. But again, when it comes to tracking your AI visibility with a list of custom prompts, this limits you a lot. So it's a very hard problem to solve. It's a work in progress.
And you have compounding errors. I don't know what the prompts are. I don't know what the volume is. I don't know whether or not they're about the primary subject. I don't know if they're search and discovery or generative. And I don't know. I don't know what the group is. So it's like all these errors, just having this extremely wide confidence interval that's almost meaningless, which is why, again, I like search volume. The other thing that I would do if I were to try and be foolish enough to build a tool around this, I tried to build a tool, but it's pretty hard to compete with Ahrefs. But if I were to, I would build mining like Reddit and Quora and some of the and sales calls. Like that's actually real data. That I think that's real data that's available right now. That I think that would be quite interesting to layer on top of search volume while we wait for panel data to be good enough.
A few comments about sales calls. First of all, I wanted to point out, it's a great source of potential questions, but I feel the questions you get from sales calls, they would fall under the evaluation stage, because people are already aware of your solution and they know a little bit about it and they're evaluating it. Not so much discovery stage, where people kind of are earlier in their journey and they just need to discover that there's a solution like yours, and they need to like come to your website, schedule a call with a salesperson and ask this question. But I'm sure that sales calls is a treasure trove of evaluation questions anyway, which are still super important, because a lot of people do use AI assistants to help them compare different solutions and explain their case, and rely on AI to give them advice why a certain solution would be good for them. Another thing, just a quick and slightly unrelated, is that I don't think it's that easy right now to aggregate questions from sales calls. I believe Gong has been promising that they would create this kind of like AI transcript analytics where at a scale of thousands of calls, they would be able to give you questions, topics, and blah, blah, blah. I don't think they released it yet because just a few days ago, we were discussing getting Gong for Ahrefs because we're still not using it. And our sales leader, she was saying that they don't yet have this cool functionality that you want, Tim. Because I said, oh, we could use those questions to help us improve our product, to help product marketing team to understand what kind of content we need to create. And she was like, no, it's still hard to get this data. And I believe a lot of people are using hacks where they get the transcripts from their kind of call logging software of choice, and then they give it to AI agent to process, and they extract questions, and then they group them. So it's right now it's very manual. Have you seen any kind of plug and play solutions for this?
No, definitely not. And we're doing something similar. Almost no one's going to build this. This is why some enterprise company like an Ahrefs or somebody else needs to build this, because this is like a huge effort. We take our sales calls via Fathom, send the transcript to BigQuery, and then we just have a giant BigQuery table, and we're not doing anything with it. But at some point, we might look at it. So, because it's like a whole thing, it's kind of like setting up event tracking in 2003. Like you have to do all this work to set it up. So basically, I don't know anyone who's doing this. We might play around with this with a couple people, but there's no plug and play. This is easy. You have to really invest in building this custom yourself.
Another thing that I think is becoming super important in this, I wouldn't say transition from SEO to AEO, but rather expansion from SEO to AEO, is your mentions around the web. And this is something Ahrefs is actually uniquely positioned to solve because we have a freaking index of the entire web. We crawl the entire web, and we have this cool tool which has always been underappreciated, I feel. It's called Content Explorer, and it's basically an index. I don't remember how big it is, 10 billion pages or something. Basically, it's the same as using Google. So, for example, you want to find all pages that mention parenting advice. So the phrase parenting advice, and you want to find all web pages that have mentioned this phrase. So in Google, if you search for parenting advice in quotes, it would give you 100 pages, like 10 pages with 10 results, 10 by 10, 100 pages. That's all you get. If you search for parenting advice in Content Explorer, it would give you hundreds of thousands of pages because we have the index of the web and we don't limit you to just 100 search results. And then we have all the SEO metrics. So we have the domain rating, we have the domain search traffic, blah, blah, blah. So you can filter the results and find the biggest websites that talk about parenting advice. And you can also do it with your competitors. So if you're seeing that your competitor is showing up in AI more than you do, instead of trying to rely on a few hundred prompts that you have set up, go and see how much more their brand is mentioned across the web compared to yours. Of course, it gets a little bit tricky when we're talking about brands which are just regular words like Apple or something. It's a lot easier when you have a brand like Ahrefs, which is a unique word, and when someone mentions Ahrefs on their page, this is us. There is no kind of second guessing. But we're also solving for that. So we're going to identify brands on the pages, and we're going to expand the index of our Content Explorer tool. So basically, instead of looking at the outcomes when you do AI visibility tracking, you're looking at the outcomes. You can go to the source and you can understand why are we having this outcome, why this brand is mentioned more, because it's mentioned more around the web. And you can find all these websites, you can find all these pages, and again, you can reach out to them and say, you're mentioning my competitor, let's figure out what needs to be done to have our brand, our product mentioned next to it on the same page. And one final thought. Of course, you want to track the citations, the actual pages that ChatGPT or other chatbots are using right now to pull information from. But will they be using those pages tomorrow? Maybe they would tweak their algorithm somehow, maybe they would tweak their fan-out queries, and they would be using different pages to pull citations from. So when you're checking the current citations, yes, it is important, but this is what works today. But what would work tomorrow? So you need to go to the source. You need to see how you represent it across the web. And this is where a tool like Ahrefs, which does the freaking crawling of the whole web and can give you all the content that has mentioned you or your competitors or a given topic, this is where people would start paying attention to it. And we're surely going to do more marketing around this because it just makes sense to do.
That's great. And this is actually another thing that is different from search, or at least an evolution from search. And by the way, I didn't actually know that this feature existed. I don't know if I can get an upgraded account, but I would love to use this. But the reason why
it's included in standard plan and advanced plan. It has been there for it's very underappreciated. Content Explorer is very underappreciated.
Yeah, and it's not that useful for search, but it is for AI. And the reason why is because all that matters in search is, are you in the top 3? I don't care about any other rank really, because you don't get any clicks. Whereas in AI, it matters a lot for 2 reasons. The first reason is that when you ask a question like, what's the best project management software? There's the core model and the RAG response. So the RAG response is where it's searching the web, get a bunch of citations, and it's looking at the citations. And it's not just looking at 3 citations. It's looking at 20. It's looking at many citations. And so position 10 and position 15 in the citation set can matter a lot versus search, where it's just the top 3. The second thing is the core model piece. So the core model is training on many, the web and just as large a data set as possible. And so it's looking at, co-occurrences of words, like what's the best project manager see at this brand? Like what's the best SEO tool, Ahrefs. And so even if that's not in the citation set, the core model sees that. And the more, the better. As you mentioned, is that citation going to be the citation in 6 months? And I actually think that the answer is it'll be very noisy. And the reason why is because if you look at the citations in all the LLMs, they're very relevant, but frequently they're kind of weird. Like, how is this strange site appearing? And the reason why is because it's not that hard to build a search engine. So search engine goes into citations. It's not that hard to build a search engine that has a good relevance score. It's very hard to sort. Like, it's very hard to build the authority score. And that's why in all the LLMs, maybe Gemini probably has this figured out, but all the LLMs are struggling to, like, we're fine with relevance, but we have all these strange sites showing up, and they're going to have to spend a bunch of time building out their own page rank, their own domain authority. And I think that the citations that appear will be very different over the coming years, which, to your point, like, how do you know if this one's going to appear in 6 months? But go after all of them. And again, so it's the core model piece and the RAG piece.
Yeah. Ethan, we've covered a lot of ground already. I don't think we need to make this episode more lengthier or more packed than it is. I'm sure the heads of our listeners are blowing up with information already. Any kind of last arguments that you wanted to make, something we didn't discuss but is important to kind of close out the episode?
Yeah, I've been looking at, is AI overhyped? And I actually thought that it was. Like, I'm an AEO influencer. I never wanted to be an influencer, but somehow I became an influencer. But is AI overhyped? And I thought that it was, and it's actually not. Like, as I've been looking at the data, it's actually not overhyped. In fact, I think that it's underhyped. So usually I try to have cerebral recommendations about not overstating how big AI is, but it's actually quite big. And so my general recommendation is there's, these points in time where there's a new technology and there's a land grab in the first few years to, like, take over the whole, take that over, and then it becomes a mature field. This is not a mature field. The AEO is not a mature field. And so I think that it's actually, I would recommend everyone panic and run out and start optimizing this. Like, I actually do think that that's true in this case. But again, it's additive to search. So have a single holistic strategy, but apply your SEO knowledge to these new things like mentions, help center, pricing page, stuff like that.
You reminded me of something I think also is very important. So again, back to AI visibility tracking. You can track it in ChatGPT, you can track it in Perplexity, you can track it in Gemini, you can track it in Copilot. But the thing is, all of those systems have different audience sizes, right? So ChatGPT is pretty big, we know. Gemini would be big. Didn't they recently sign some deal with Apple or something that Gemini is going to power Apple? So the answers by Gemini is going to explode. Wait, let me finish. Copilot, Microsoft would probably be pushing it everywhere in their products as well, so they would try to integrate it into Windows and whatnot, so everyone would be battling for visibility. I think Perplexity would be the smallest player. Now, the thing is, when we're talking about conventional SEO, Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, no one cares about optimizing for DuckDuckGo. And typically no one cares about optimizing for Bing because it's just so small compared to Google. And the strategies for optimizing Google and Bing are, 95% the same. I don't even know what unique things you need to do to show up in Google that wouldn't help you to show up, to show up in Bing that wouldn't help you to show up in ChatGPT. But AI chatbots are different because there were a lot of studies in terms of citations. And we know that where ChatGPT pulls citations from is different from when Gemini pulls citations from. It's different from Perplexity, it's different from Copilot. So once you start tracking your visibility in ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, do you really want to spend resources individually? Oh, like I'm showing up well in ChatGPT, but now I want to show up more in Perplexity. Do you really want to spend more resources on that specific AI assistant? Or maybe you want like a broader strategy that would just generally help you target all of them at once. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I have data on this. And I started SEO in 2007. And I did Bing optimization and Yahoo optimization in addition to Google optimization. And it was great. They're similar, but they're different. And that was really fun. I have data on, let me see if I can do this. Yep. So this is the market share for search. So this is worldwide. Google has 94% market share, and I think 90% in the US. But just worry about Google. In AI, it's basically ChatGPT and Gemini have like 95% plus, or 90% plus, I think. So it's clearly those two. But we don't know who's going to win because I think Yahoo was bigger than Google for a while. And AOL, like AOL and Excite and Dogpile, like who knows who's going to be Dogpile and who's going to be Google? We don't know actually. There's all these LLMs. There's Grok, Claude. The largest ones are ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, Grok, Claude. But any of them might win. To your point, Google just signed this massive deal with Apple. Is somebody going to sign a deal with Microsoft? Probably. Meta has Meta AI. They have a massive surface. So are they going to be like, they could easily be huge as well. So to your point, who's to know who's going to win? I'll say, you should track your presence on all these. The other thing is you need to ask the question many times because you get different answers. And so you need to do multiple runs. So you do multiple run, like 10 runs of the same question on each surface across all the surfaces. And then you get this probability distributions of distributions. And then you have this really complex probability density function of your rank. Much more complicated than I'm position 3, but that's basically how you need to do it.
Yeah. So back to the question, should you care about optimizing for Perplexity? Or because my point is you need to optimize for the biggest. So whoever is the biggest one, you need to show up that your AI visibility is best there. And then you need to do a little bit of extra effort, just things that make sense. Like I said, you need to go to a tool like Content Explorer. You need to see all the mentions of your competitors. You need to see all the websites that are covering your topics and make sure you have visibility there. And without specifically targeting Perplexity, by doing this thing that just makes general sense, your visibility in Perplexity should improve as a result. So this is my point. Optimize for the biggest and do a bit of extra work that just makes sense for all of additional chatbots.
I think there's two answers. There's the infinite resources corporation answer, and there's the startup answer. So okay. The corporation answer is, well, there's all these trends, and we need to think about these trends and Perplexity and blah blah. And like, when I have all the resources that I could ever want, I could do whatever I want. Then there's the startup answer, which is I'm dying in 18 months, and I need to make it to the next round, or I'm dead. And for that, just focus on the biggest channel, which is what I would do. So if it's me, I would just focus on ChatGPT, maybe Gemini, and I wouldn't worry about anything else. Wait until those are important, and then you can worry about them. But there's so much wasted time optimizing for some sort of imaginary hypothetical thing that might happen at some point in the future. And I haven't met many companies that have infinite resources and can sort of just spend resources on theoretical, hypothetical things. Almost everyone that I know has finite resources. So if it's me, I would just optimize for the thing that's large right now. But it is large enough to the channel is big enough to worry about right now and to spend time on. But yeah, just do ChatGPT only, or if you have some extra time, do Gemini.
Ethan, a lot of what we discussed today, especially all the new data that you have shared, is going to be published soon. Where people can find it?
So people can find it on our blog, so graphite.io/5%, which stands for actually 5%.
We'll put on the links in the description as well. I just want to make sure it's going to be published on Graphite blog, obviously on your LinkedIn, so people should go and follow you on LinkedIn and look for mentions of that. Will you syndicate it? Because the previous study, you syndicated it with what, Axios or?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if somebody wants to pick it up.
Okay.
We may or may not. Well, we'll do our best to see if anybody else will pick it up, but we'll definitely put it on our blog. We'll send it to our newsletter and LinkedIn, and hopefully somebody thinks it's interesting to pick up. I think it is.
Okay, so if our listeners want to see all the fancy graphs and charts and numbers and the studies and the data, they can find it on your blog. They can find it on your LinkedIn. Ethan, amazing. Yeah.
Oh, and we included the raw data. So we included the source and the raw data. So everything is reproducible. So you don't need to trust us. You can click and see the actual raw data all in our blog.
Ethan, thanks a lot for this episode. I really appreciate how deep we went and how much data you used to support your claims. And like I said, you're definitely the top expert in AEO and SEO. And yeah, if people need to trust a voice with what is happening right now to SEO and how it expands into AEO, I would totally choose you as the source of truth. Thank you.
Thank you so much.